I'm your host, Annie Bowles, and this is News du Jour. Good morning and welcome back to News du Jour. If you're new here, I wanted to start off with a disclaimer that while we promise to be a calmer space to consume the news, that's not to say that bad stuff doesn't happen. And when it does, we're going to be here to tell you about it, acknowledge its seriousness, but however, we believe there's a lot more than doom and gloom going on in the world. We will report on a range of topics that differ from entertainment to business to politics to art and fashion and much more. Whatever the top 3 stories of the day are, that's what we're excited to tell you about. We're glad you're here. Today, we are starting off with a historic moment for space exploration in the U.S. and then focusing the rest of the episode on the rallies across the country and related issues. Real quick, if you hear some whirring noises in the background, I apologize. I have a home recording studio, but I live very close to the Capitol here in OKC, and helicopters have been flying overhead for the past day or two, so you may hear that. First off, the rocket launch. So for the first time ever, a private company has decided to help explore space. NASA astronauts Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley flew the SpaceX brand spaceship named Crew Dragon and successfully launched it into orbit from Florida and docked her after 2 days of flight. Pretty crazy to think that the field of space is now open for commercial ventures. President Trump was there to watch and unsurprisingly said that it was, quote, incredible. Speaking of President Trump, let's talk about President Trump and Twitter for launching into everything else that's going on right now. We reported last week that Twitter has begun to flag tweets by President Trump that may not be factual. Well, now they're adding an alert to tweets that may incite violence. Given the overwhelming anger and outrage throughout the country, most presidents would seek to calm the waters, but that has never been President Trump's MO. No, he took to Twitter calling the protesters thugs and saying, quote, "When the looting starts, the shooting starts." So I wanted to shed some light on the history of this exact phrasing. Dating back to the civil rights era, segregationists use this exact phrase as a scare tactic. Specifically, a white police chief started it named Walter Headley, and this phrase was used when cracking down on protesters in Miami in Florida. Clarence Lusane of Howard University is quoted as saying that Headley had a long history of bigotry against the Black community. Luckily, this attempt at dog whistle politics, an instance where a phrase will only anger a certain target audience, was curbed by Twitter. The social media company once again filtered the tweet by graying it out this time so it could not be read unless you click through, and stating that the tweet was violating the company's user safety guidelines. The tweet also cannot be liked by other users. The Trump administration then attempted to repost the tweet on the White House official account, and it was once again blocked out as being against user guidelines. It is important to note that Twitter is becoming a much more aggressive company in actions against tweets across the political spectrum, and in the last few weeks, it seems that they are really trying for accountability on their platform. Before we continue on with our episode, I wanted to give you a quick behind-the-scenes look at how I produce my podcast. So I actually use and love Anchor, a free tool for podcasters. It's everything you need to create, distribute, and make money from your podcast all in one place. And it has a matching app that makes tracking updates to your following super easy. You can download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm, that's ANCHOR.FM today to get started. We broadcast from Oklahoma City, where the police killing rate per capita is second in the nation. We felt it was important to cover the rallies here in person, in particular, to paint a picture, but we will report on happenings across the country as well. Rallies took place here in Oklahoma City on Saturday night at 23rd and Classen and on Sunday afternoon at 36th and Kelly. They were in pretty stark contrast with one another. For reference, each rally was very close to the Capitol, but kind of on opposite sides of the city. The first rally was pretty last minute. It started in the evening and escalated quickly. It resulted in 25 plus cop cars and even an ambulance showing up, vandalizing of businesses, 25 arrests, and an SUV striking a man. The second rally, in contrast, was well organized and well mobilized. Mayor David Holt was in attendance. Protesters spent about an hour at the meetup location as news helicopters and drones circled overhead, monitoring the crowd's every movement. We then proceeded on with a march on the Capitol. The tone was somber but strong. There were many moments of absolute silence in a crowd of thousands. The crowds wore mostly dark colors but held colorful signs. You could see and feel a dense sadness and a sense of mourning. The heat was immense, especially with the sun beating down. People of all colors were flowing busily together towards the Capitol. Big SUVs blasted rap music and honked their horns as the crowds passed by. Looking around, there was a man in baby pink overalls with a black t-shirt and a black cowboy hat. There were both hippies and hipsters. There were goths and preppies. The Church of God choir sang Amazing Grace in Amish-like clothing. A man with a megaphone bedazzled in gold rhinestones helped blast Lean on Me by Bill Withers, and an entire group of people surrounding him sang along as they held on to their loved ones. Many cried out, "Never forget Tulsa," where a massacre occurred 99 years ago to the day. Chants included phrases like, "I can't breathe, George Floyd," and "Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter." "Hands up, don't shoot. Hands up, don't shoot," as the entire crowd of people held their hands up together. Eventually, we made our way through the tunnels of highway leading up to the Capitol building. A young black leader led us with a megaphone, "No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace," and so on. Eventually, our adrenaline surged as we came towards a ring of fellow protesters encircling the last tunnel rim, chanting with us. We then ran up the grassy hill towards the Capitol itself. We made our way towards the building, ending up under shady oak trees with thick manicured grass underneath. We marched towards the steps of the Capitol with both American and Oklahoma flags waving. Eventually, we heard that the police officers had taken off their hats and taken a knee for the protesters here. I heard that when someone defaced the Capitol steps, that people took the literal shirts off their backs to wipe it clean. What happened that I witnessed today was peaceful solidarity, people of every age, color, gender, and creed coming together to stand up for the Black community of Oklahoma City. And last night was a very different experience. In regards to the protests, curfews have been put in place in major cities like Los Angeles, Atlanta, Miami, Chicago, and Philadelphia. 7 people were struck by gunfire in Louisville, Kentucky, 1 being critically injured. Major traffic locations are being blocked by protests nationwide as many cities across the country show support for George Floyd, his family, and the Black Lives Matter movement at large. And that's the news du jour. I wanted to leave you guys again with an inspirational quote for your weeks. And this week it is live less out of habit and more out of intent. And I hope that you guys find this inspiring for your Monday so that you can examine a little closer what might be just a habit and could be improved upon and be lived a little more out of intent. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe on whatever podcast platform you listen to. A rate and review would mean the world to us and help us be able to keep creating the news du jour for free for you guys. You can also follow us on social media under sugarfreemedia.co on Instagram, sugarfreemedia on TikTok, and sugarfree_media on Twitter. We appreciate you listening and cannot wait to tell you about the news tomorrow. Broadcasting from Oklahoma.